Welcome to the garage. Today we're going to turn some of our scrap wood into this beautiful and practical vegetable bin. So this is an example of how you can take even the similar species of wood. We actually look like we have 2 or 3 species here and make something that has utility and it looks good. So stick around and let me show you how you're going to build this utilitarian vegetable bin. So we have placed a stop block here. We've calculated the distance from our blade to the stop block because we're going to cut 3 pieces that are identical in length, and I'm using this clamp here just to keep this piece from moving up. So we're going to turn the saw on. Do you want to measure it, make sure you're correct?
Go ahead and measure it.
11 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So we need 3 of those, right?
Yep.
Again, we'll need 3 cuts, so we just created a stop block using just hot glue here, and that will allow us to make our 3 cuts. Now, ultimately, one of the 3 has to be shorter, right?
Yes. We'll take it off the end after we make the angles.
And now we make the 3 cuts, we're going to remove our stop block because we don't need it anymore for this project, and that's the advantage of the hot glue. All we have to do now is take that little plug and we can reuse that anytime we want. It doesn't leave any marks or anything on the wood. So we mark our angles in one piece, and this is an easy angle. This is a 45, and you can use your square here, and if you bring it down you can see we're at the 45 mark, and just you make a line. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the angle on our saw once for the 45 and once for the 30, and we're going to cut 3 times. All right?
Is it flush?
Yes. Okay, so we double check that we are in the correct orientation with the piece that we cut, and now we're going to make our last angle cut. As you can see, we went back into our stop block. And our saw is not big enough to cut this length. So we're just going to do a little sanding because that's a visible edge for our project. So now it's nice and flush. All right, next, so we have this. These are the dividers, the two sides and the one divider, right? Now we need to shorten. Do you care which one is the middle?
Nope.
We need to shorten one of them the width of our backing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this saw be better for that?
Could, I guess. Which way?
This one.
Alright, we have here our middle divider and we have aligned it with our blade. This has to be cut by 1/2 inch to accommodate the back end of the storage bin that we're building. So that's what we're going to do next. You ready? Right, and next we need what, 19 inches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right. Now, because we need to be on this side, right? This is our waist.
Correct.
So we need to be on this side of the blade, correct?
On this side of the blade.
So the last piece we need to cut, is it the last?
Mm-hmm. Well, no.
The back, we need to cut,
Right.
right?
Right, we need to cut the back and the underneath.
So we're using the piece we already cut in order to ensure that we're going to cut it all the correct way. So, oh sorry. Alright. And how many? That's the front. How many we need?
Rolling.
I have it. Again, we're using the measure piece that we know is the correct dimension, and if you want you can remove it and I can clamp this. Want to remove that one?
Not until you clamp it.
I cannot clamp it with that there, honey. Right?
Did it change it? Because it moved a little bit.
Oh look, did it?
Okay.
Did it or did it?
It's fine.
So we need 2 more or 3 more or how many more?
2 more.
Can you come out this way?
They're not quite flush.
Oh, we're not there yet. Okay,
Okay.
and the last one. Ready? Dry fitting is a very important aspect in ensuring that your final product will be really fitting well together. Here we've speed up the video, so what is rather repetitive is not going to last very long. However, you can see us trying every aspect, making corrections as needed. For example, here we were correcting a mistake. We did not take into account the width of the 2 ends, so we have to trim the back piece, and that is the value of dry fitting. If you make any miscalculations or any design errors, then dry fitting will reveal them before you have started the assembly, which might make it very late for you to do anything to correct the problem without looking really bad. Now we start the assembly after we were satisfied with dry fitting, and as we do with most of our projects, we like to use glue and brad nails, and this is the construction technique we chose here as well, primarily because glue is one of the strongest bonds that you can make for wood, especially this type. Notice this is not grain to grain, so this is going to create a very strong bond. And the pin nails that we use with the brad nailer provide a lot of clamping power that allow us to continue building, especially in a situation like this that we are filming and we don't have the luxury of waiting for the glue to dry before the next step, so we can move on forward. Again, this is speed up 8 times because the process is very simple. You can still see what we're doing, so we're not skipping any of the steps, but in the same time you do not have to just watch a very lengthy video that a lot of the stuff is repetitive. Again, when you have any project that has many parts, you're going to have repetitive processes, cuts, glue ups, etc. So it is a good idea to plan your processing to accommodate for this repetitive work, even if you're not videotaping what you're doing, so you will gain time overall and you're not going to have to worry about running out of time to finish a specific project. This is the stage you have to be very careful. As you can see, even at high speed, we take care that every piece is very flush before we do the final assembly. We do take care that we put enough glue that will securely hold the pieces once it is cured, and it is very important that you take your time during final assembly. The dry fitting has helped us at this point, so we don't have to make any corrections. Everything fits correctly, and we know it does because we already dry fitted it. And now we are just enjoying putting the piece together, and we see it for the first time take shape. So we went from a concept to a finalized project. Using little spacers is a great idea, and I always keep in a big jar little pieces of wood like what you see here that allow us to space pieces without having to constantly measure or using a level. Again, the more little tricks like that you use, the better off you're going to be without having to worry a lot about having to measure all the time. I believe measuring should be kept to a minimum because it really reduces errors, not for any other reason. I can measure, and of course you cannot avoid all measuring. Even in this project you did see we did measure some, but if you use, for example, a cut piece to repeat the same length in other pieces, you're far less likely to make mistakes and far less likely to have to recut pieces. So dry fitting and not measuring at all, but using existing pieces or using markings to decide lengths is a great idea. Here we're making a decision that relates simply to aesthetics and is not really important, and also in which order we are going to finish the project. We decided it made more sense and it will be easier for us to actually put the back first on and then the last piece of the bottom. And we're doing our best to try and center the back. This is a piece of plywood, so as you can see clearly it's kind of twisted, so we're going to have to straighten it up as we go along. That is unavoidable sometimes. Again, this project was built using existing wood in my garage, and this plywood has been in my garage for several years, so while it looks good, it is far from straight. So by starting in the middle and then going in the ends, as you're going to see in a moment, allow us to have a much better fit of the plywood and allow us to manipulate it so the end product is straight even though the plywood itself is not. Again, the brad nails here are invaluable because it allows us to stabilize the piece while at the same time we can manipulate it without worrying about any of the joints coming apart. I did hit a lot of brad nails here because I did know that we were going to have to manipulate the final product in order to get a good result. So we are going to now connect the ends to the back, and we did brad nails here without glue because really there is no real reason for glue in this specific application, and plywood does not really have a very good edge just using glue. You see my wife here really making the plywood as straight as she can with her hands before I use the brad nail, and then you see that it stays there. I'm using fairly long brad nails here, and with time the wood will stay in that shape and will not present any problem. But this is a great tip if you have wood that it is slightly crooked. Again, if that was much thicker or extremely crooked, this technique will not work, but in most applications you can actually manipulate the wood small amounts that will allow you to make a finished project that look great without using the most straight wood or the freshest part of your stock, or going out and buying a brand new piece of wood to complete your project. And here you see we're almost done with the finished project. We're going to add some legs, as you're going to see, just to allow for circulation, but here we're putting the last structural component, and we're using this twofold. First of all, to finish the bottom, and secondly to add some structure to the whole build. So I hope you enjoyed this little speed up version of the build. We do not hide anything that we do.
we do not do retakes, we do that only in one take.
So we're going to cut 6 more small feet to put in the underside to lift the whole assembly so the vegetables will have some breathing space.
Again, this is a repetitive process and simply demonstrates how using a stop block can make this repetitive process go much faster. Once we measured the dimension of the little legs, all we do is actually make the 6 cuts. We decided to use 6 legs, and you can see here how fast this process is. Again, you need to be careful when you're working with power tools, and you can see even in the speed, which is 8 times the normal speed, I'm being very careful not to be very close to the blade. That's the reason why I step the saw back before I remove it, to avoid my hand being very close to a spinning blade. So these are some very helpful tips about safety.
What? I'm not done yet. You got ahead of me.
And again, we're using the staples just as a clamp now. Since these are going to actually receive weight, they don't need any more strength than one. I will have plenty of strength with the glue and one rod. Hello friends, we're back in the house with a totally complete bin, and as you can see, it really improves the utility of our pantry. So as you can see, this is a quite useful build. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy our channel, please give us a thumbs up. If you don't, the other button works as well. Support our channel by subscribing, sharing and liking. And if you enjoy this build, stay tuned for more interesting projects for the remaining of the season. I will see you next time. And let us know what you would like us to see you build in bloopers. And I hope that you enjoyed this specific build. If you don't, the other button works as well. Please support us by subscribing, sharing and liking our videos. And let us know what you would like us to see you build in bloopers.